Welcome back to 52 Lockup. I am your Appletini Captain of Bitten Apple TV. 52 Lockup is a series I started to talk about one of my true passions, true crime. A new episode on every Cat Maniac Monday or every Cat Maniac week. Either way, the point is 52 weeks, 52 crimes. Hope you guys enjoy. Be sure to like, leave some feedback, subscribe, and as always, viewer discretion is always advised. So, let's talk about a case that hit New York City pretty hard. So let's start off with the year. Kick off with 1972. Would give birth to who would become a first responder hero. And not just any first responder. Born on January 1st, 1972, was Yadira Arroyo. Born in New York. She was born to Leda Acevedo Rosado. Her and her mother would have an incredibly close, healthy relationship. They were like besties, right? Yadira would have her first son, Jose Montes, in 1994. And then she would have her son, Edgar, would be next to follow. And next would be Kenneth. She had two younger sons, born in 2001, and the youngest in 2010. She was known for being an incredible mother and always, doting on her family. Unfortunately, she still had to maintain being a single mother over the years. But she was nothing short of amazing. Judging from the countless descriptions of her, I'm not even sure if being left in awe or amazing or inspiring is enough to describe this incredible woman. In 2003, she would make a life-changing choice. At the age of 30, Yadira sought out a career in EMS. The acronym is short for Emergency Medical Services. This means she is a first responder. And she is the face you would see when you do something stupid, dangerous, get a boo-boo. She was the wee-woo, taxi driver kind of thing. She dedicated 14 hard-working years to FDNY. Fire department, right? New York. Saving lives left and right because not all heroes wear capes, right? She held a strong passion to being an EMT and she took pride in her job. She comes from a family of caregivers. Her uncle was a FDNY medic. Her aunt became a registered nurse. Her mother was a nursing assistant, a CNA, who encouraged her passion for medicine. So when I say family of caregivers, she really does. Let me even go further than that. She would even motivate her half-brother, Joel Rosado, to become an EMT and helped him get through his class to graduate. In fact, he would say, I followed her steps and I did it because I want to be like her. I went with her to work and I seen what she did every day. It inspired me. She taught me everything, how to put on oxygen, how to do everything. I knew it was meant to be for me. Another medic named Anastasia Ramos considered Yadira to be like a great mentor and wonderful friend. She was such a motivation and brought so much everywhere she went. Lieutenant George Lampone called Yadira the matriarch of her station. I guess we can call her Mama Medic. Even her sister was engaged to an EMT, and one of her nephews was training to become an EMT because of her as well down the line. When I tell you it is a family of medics and healthcare workers, it is a family of caregivers. I really, truly mean a family of caregivers. So for those of you who do not know what an EMT does, let me break it down, right? EMTs, medics, respond to hundreds of daily emergencies. They are there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Rain, snow, hail, fire, hailing from the sky. When you dial 911, they are there for you when someone is having a seizure, whether it is partial or tonic-clonic seizures, when someone is going into cardiac arrest. They are fighting to keep your soul tied to your body as they work to achieve ROSC, which is return of spontaneous circulation. when someone goes into cardiac arrest, you're clinically dead. So when they perform CPR, they are trying to achieve ROS because it will bring the person back. The brain will die very quickly, and the goal is to achieve minimal damage, right? As much, in a sense, as much as possible. They are coming to your aid for domestic violence victims, the intoxicated, the diabetic, delivering babies, assisting rape victims, victims from fire, stabbing, shootings, confronting people, threatening their lives from being armed with knives. And I do mean people threaten first responders, including the medics, whether it's carrying knives, box cutters, guns, baseball bats, and of course, New York City classic junkies who hate them for killing their high, right, with Narcan. Which, if you remember my previous episodes discussing about opioids, that are central nervous system suppressants, right? The body is slowing down, and naloxone or Narcan knocks the opioid off the receptors to get the body to do what it needs to do to survive, like breathe. When there is a crisis, EMTs are called, whether you're talking 9/11 or hurricanes like Sandy or Katrina, flooding in California, and so much more, so much more. Yadira Arroyo was on duty with her partner Monique Williams in the Bronx. Dispatch calls in about a call shortly after 7 p.m. on March 16th, 2017. She was working overtime tour to what I believe was a pregnant woman on Soundview, according to some news articles. I cannot confirm this information exactly. However, on the FDNY website, it is stated that a passerby alerted the ambulance to a 25-year-old man riding right on the back of the bumper of the ambulance, the bus. This is dangerous, right? Because surfing like this in the city causes injuries, right? We see in New York, we see people surfing the trains, right? Can't do that. He's also in their blind spot. Those buses are big. So they stopped their bus at an intersection of Watson Avenue and White Plains Road to investigate, what is going on? As soon as they exited the vehicle, the man runs around the driver's side, coming around, right, heading towards the sidewalk and making a beeline around, right, to the driver's side of the ambulance. Monique would run to fight the man to get him out of her ambulance because it happened so quickly. Monique was trying to pull the man's hands off of the steering wheel when he managed to kick the ambulance into reverse. He backed up into another car and knocked over Yadira, and she fell. She was not in Monique's sight. The vehicle would move forward, and Monique recalls the bumps of the ambulance, realizing something was very wrong. He would run over Yadira and drag her body into the intersection, trying to take off with her ambulance. Monique would state later on, when we started to go forward, I felt something tumbling underneath us. I ran over to her to try to get her up. She didn't get up. I stayed there with her. She didn't move no more, so I just stood there with her. Both women were actually struck by their own ambulance, but Yadira Arroyo would be the only one to pass, leaving Monique not only hospitalized for her wounds, but also in shock. The man would crash into 5 vehicles, actually, in total. He would attempt to flee the scene, right? He gets out of the vehicle, and he would allegedly begin to fight with the gathering crowd. He attempted to throw a punch before another man grabbed him, threw him to the ground, which turned out to be an MTA off-duty officer, Daniel McDade, who was able to pin him down, also with the additional help of his 2 more citizens. I believe Daniel McDade said, at least from what I found in the articles, his wife was pregnant, had a 2-year-old son, and he was like, no, I have to step in. Later, a photo of the man's initial perp walk. He was led out of NYPD precinct following his arrest, which apparently showed him sporting a black and bruised right eye. It seemed important to one of the articles. I'm just simply going over it. Police officers responding to the incident would find Yadira lying in the roadway unconscious and unresponsive with trauma to her body. She would be taken to Jacoby Hospital in the Bronx in critical condition, where she would be pronounced dead. Yadira was the 8th member of FDNY, an EMS, to die in the line of duty, and the 3rd woman, actually. Her brother, Joel, whom she motivated to become an EMT, to begin with, gets the call, and immediately, about her death, and he would fly to the hospital. Overnight, fellow members of the FDNY, as well as other workers in EMS, saluted her body as it was being removed from Jacobi Medical Center Hospital, where hours before they just simply rushed to be by her side. Who is this murderer? His name is Jose Gonzalez Jr. New Yorkers would learn that Jose Gonzalez Jr. had many run-ins with police prior to her death. He did not have any serious felonies on his record, but he was arrested at least 31 times, with 6 of them where he was referred to as an EDP. That's an emotionally disturbed person. There were multiple resources exclaiming that he was also a member of the Blood Street Gang. His father in court would state that his son suffered from a bipolar disorder, and that for years he tried to get him help, but the system failed him. His attorney would state that he was severely mentally ill due to statements from Jose Gonzalez Jr. about running away from the Illuminati. He's like, I saved the medic's life, and how God is talking to him. 3 weeks prior to her death, Jose had been accused of kicking out the back window of a police van and trying to punch an officer. The judge in that case had released him, even though he was already awaiting his trial on a separate assault charge. That decision was put under the microscope following Yadira's death. So, initially, from his arrest at the crime scene, he was taken to Rikers Island, but was transferred over to Bellevue. It would take 6 years, almost to the day of her death, for him to be completely convicted. His attorney tried to explain it was a mental illness and the drugs he was on. But here's where the problem comes in. There's video that would show Jose darting out of an apartment building, right? Running up to the ambulance and hopping on the back, right? On the back bumper. And he is seen peering into the back window before finally jumping down, running towards the sidewalk to come around, right? Later, the suspect would be tested and found positive for phencyclidine, which is PCP, a hallucinogen that can induce a type of psychosis. All right, let's think about this. Bipolar disorder. All right. Bipolar disorder, formerly called, right, manic depression, is a mental health condition that causes extreme mood swings, right? It's a mood disorder that include emotional highs, right, the mania or hypomania, and the lows of depression, right? When you become depressed, you may feel sad or hopeless and lose interest or pleasure in most activities. When your mood shifts to mania or hypomania, less extreme than mania, you may feel euphoric and full of energy or unusually irritable. These mood swings can affect sleep, energy, activity, judgment, behavior, and the ability to think clearly. Okay, we got that on one plate, not on the other. Now, what about PCP? Angel dust, right? It was actually developed, just so you know, in the 1950s as a surgical anesthetic, and was soon discontinued after it was discovered to cause agitation and mania, hallucinations, and irrational thinking in patients following its use. It is labeled as a Schedule II controlled substance because it is an extremely likelihood of it to be abused, right? And can lead to severe psychological as well as physical dependence. People may be imprisoned for making, distributing, possessing, and using it. We have neurotransmitters in our brain, right? And PCP affects not just a transmitter, multiple transmitters, right? Just messing up the whole system, like inhibiting the reuptake of dopamine, norepinephrine, as well as serotonin, which means like, okay, so the hormone comes out, they're like, ooh, this is a party, but really they're an introvert and they want to like run back in. And when you inhibit that, what makes it happen is that hormone goes back and it hangs out with everyone, right? It also inhibits the action of glutamate by blocking the MDA receptors. Those are the messengers for emotions, learning, memory, and of course, pain and sensation. Without those sensations, the brain starts to disconnect from reality. So now, here we are, March 8th, 2023. The jury finds him guilty, first-degree murder. Now, to describe a little bit more, in honor of Yadira, let me list the number of things that occurred within the 6-year wait for justice, right? So the Stephen Siller Tunnel to Towers Foundation announced they would be donating $100,000 to set up a trust fund for her kids, which, if you're unfamiliar with, is an organization that began as a way to honor the fallen 9/11 firefighters, and they were still asking for the public's help. Since her death, her family has partnered up with every year with FDNY and NYPD's 43rd Precinct, the 4-3, to organize a toy giveaway for the community in the Bronx in honor of Yadira. Inside the Blueprint Middle School's gym were like rows of children lining up for toys like Mattel and Spin Master and Jazzwares and Under Armour and even Hess trucks. We all know the Hess truck stack and it's better than ever. You know what I mean? Also, this is all stated by Jillian Crane, the president and CEO of First Responders Children's Foundation. Her kids were honored with former Jets player Willie Colon at their mother's EMS station house, right, 26. So they could announce one of the Jets' 4th round draft picks. Kenneth would be actually the one announcing their 141st pick in the NFL draft. Which was Jets selected wide receiver Chad Hansen. Her son Kenneth, at the time age 18, and Edgar 21, was motivated by his mother's heroic actions and lifestyle and wants to carry on his mother's legacy. He began following in her footsteps to become a medic himself. In 2017, the year of her death, Kenneth began training at Code 1 training school. He intended to apply and train and test to become a firefighter. He said he knew his plans would bring a smile to his mother's face, which would make sense, right? Because she's just out there making medics and EMTs like left and right. The family would receive an all-expense paid trip to Disney World thanks to a New Jersey charity foundation called Bianca's Kids that also had a ceremony in honor of her. If you would like to go to the FDNY-EMT Yadira Arroyo playground that was renamed for her in the Bronx, you would look up the address, 1954 Watson Avenue, the Bronx, New York, obviously 10472. She's a legacy to be reckoned with. When I say he killed somebody, he killed somebody. Did you know that since 1994, 8 emergency medical workers have been killed in a line of duty, and Yadira would be numero 8? New Yorkers remember last year, 2022, how Lieutenant Allison Russo Elling, a 24-year veteran, just shy of retirement, stabbed to death right outside her station in Queens. In 2018, because of what happened, warning signs began to be displayed prominently on the sides of emergency vehicles to help curb attacks by warning that any attack on EMTs and paramedics is automatically a felony charge, which is punishable by 7 years alone. Reading from Norway News, they listed up, let me just explain. It's a patient to FDNY employee workplace violence, right? Just the incidents. So we're looking at 2018, 107 incidences, right, of patients attacking healthcare workers, right? We're looking at 2019, 142 incidents, following up with the pandemic, 2020, 226 incidents, 2021, up to 237 incidents. Those numbers are just the patients to FDNY. Let's look at the members of the public who attack FDNY employee workplace violence incidents, right? 2018, 22 incidents. 2019, 49 incidents. 2020, 65 incidents. 2021, 126 incidents. I mean, these numbers only account for FDNY. This doesn't include all the other places that employ EMTs, especially considering the fact that there are 24,996 ambulance services in the U.S. as of the year of 2023. It has increased by 0.2% since 2022. There are so many factors that went into Yadira's death, from Jose being released, potentially being bipolar, and not receiving the help his father said the system had failed him on, was the access to his drugs that allowed his brain to disconnect from reality. There's a lot that goes into this. Yadira, every first responder is valuable because, like I said, they are the person that will assist you. You're having an asthma attack, you can't breathe. They are there with the nebulizer, with the oxygen, just sitting there, feeding it over to you to make sure you make it to the hospital. Their goal is to make sure they take care of you. That's their goal. But like attacking them, the truth is it's not ridiculous, right? Because even in hospitals, patients will attack healthcare workers, nurses. Any healthcare worker will tell you. There's a comfortableness about doing it, and I think it stems from the expectation that because they're a healthcare worker and they're there to heal you, that they can't hit back. And I feel like it's even like in a sense, kind of like whenever a Karen decides to walk into like a McDonald's and is like, I'm gonna yell at you and be mean because I can, and you're not allowed to talk back, because they feel like, well, because you're there to heal, you definitely can't hit back. And I feel like that's where the stupidity really like comes in. I used to work at a hospital myself. I used to work over at St. Luke's, and I remember when a patient decided to chuck furniture at me 4 times my size, just decided like, I'm establishing dominance, minding my business, walking through, and I was just like, that's it. We're calling for backup. Like, it was quick. But it's common, and unfortunately it's too common. I mean, no one should be attacking anyone, but nonetheless, like, these are the people that are there to help you. It almost makes sense when drug addicts do it because, they just spent their last $40 on a high, and now you've come to save their life, and you killed their high by, like, Narcanning them. At least with regular fentanyl or anything else that's out there, because now we have, zombie drugs, which, by the way, is actually mixed with, I think it's called Xyla. It's XY something. I can't remember it exactly. But which is a drug that is meant to be a sedative for animals. And the only drug that can counteract that drug is called Toraline. But if you are an EMT and BLS, you're not allowed to mess with that medication. And I don't think paramedics are allowed to carry that. So it gets really, really interesting when you like look at the numbers. And for like Norwood News to like, really break that down on like the number of incidences of when a patient attacks a worker, or there was even a news where an EMT got shot because the patient had a gun and he was just like going into the back, bam, shot. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you see these things happening. And it's a really sad circumstance. You see someone like the lieutenant from last year outside of her own station. Just for what? Like, it's like video game wise, it explains to some people who are like, maybe not quite getting it. Imagine going into a video game. Imagine there's the apocalypse and you need assistance. You are attacking the person who can heal you. You're attacking the person who's going to stop your bleeding. You're attacking the person who is fighting with the spirits or the gods, if you will, to keep your soul here where you would like it. There's a lot that goes into EMS. And it's sad to see that someone so influential, not only coming from like a family of caregivers, just making other caregivers, whether it was her kids or not. She was like, Mama Medic is what I would like to make the reference to. I mean, that's intense. She needs a statue. I'm just gonna throw that idea, like give her like a statue somewhere. Like Mama Medic, and like I just think that would be like a nice way to like also honor her. I've seen, like, I read all these incidences, I go over all the details, and I had not seen anyone so severely loved and missed and so influential. You can tell that her existence was a light, like a pure light, that she was motivating. And although her life was not perfect, right? She had her tribulations, she tried her best, but her light never diminished. And it's incredible to say that even though unfortunately she passed, her light is still there. That's the kind of people you want around you. You know what I mean? Like, those are the people you're like, I had the pleasure of knowing this kind of person. That's the feeling you get. And I think it's absolutely horrendous how she died. Absolutely horrendous. And I can only imagine how her partner would feel. Just that quickly hopping out of the bus, just going, okay, I'm going to solve this problem. And then meanwhile, coming around is this douchebag from a blind spot, only to realize what this person is doing so quickly. I want to know what your thoughts are. Do you think it's because, you know, they were bipolar? Do you think it's the drugs? Do you think it's a combination? Are you in EMS? Are you in EMS in any other state? You don't have to necessarily be in New York. I mean, talk to me in the comments here and tell me what you think, and what's a situation that you've seen or witnessed, whether or read in the news. If there's even a situation you would like me to cover, I will research everything I can to do that case on the following weeks. But it's sad. It's really sad. Especially when you see someone so incredible like that, and then their life is taken. I believe in one of the articles, there's even one EMT that was unnamed and was screaming at the courtroom that that person deserves to be in jail for life. I mean, the courts were flooded. The hospital was flooded. Anyways, feel free to give me your comments, your feedback, and of course, you see healthcare workers, don't attack them. They're there to help. They're there to pull you out of a burning building. They're there when you're pissed drunk. They're there if you're having a psychological breakdown. You know, I don't know, you broke up with your loved one. Whatever's going on, they are there for you. They are your trauma response. They will take care of you, and they will help you and guide you as best as they can. So, like, don't attack them. They see a lot. EMS workers see a lot of things. And I think it's definitely, you know, and that also includes other healthcare workers. I don't want to, like, exclude anyone. But they see a lot. Show some respect. And as always, stay vigilant and stay safe.
Run over the guy, bro.
Please, I remind you, viewer discretion is advised.
What the
I found this video on Daily Mail Co. UK. Her body is blocked out, but I did just want to show for those who may be curious to what happened.
Help him. Justin, watch it. You gotta help him.
And as you can see here, he already had actually hit her and she dragged her out. And you can see people are calling for help. You can see people are stepping in. In fact, the passenger in the driver's seat is actually trying to assist them as well. But they're going to be pulling over. When you see he gets out, you see that the ambulance is over to the far side. If you listen carefully, you can hear Monique screaming. That's her partner entering into shock. If you really listen to her, you can hear that's her partner.
She took our ambulance. She got ran over. And the ambulance was sitting in the car.
And that's so hard. That is so hard.
She got ran over, yeah. I got someone on video.
And if you can hear her screaming, if you can't hear what she's doing, that she's actually screaming, that was my partner. That's my partner.
This kid was walking with his book bag right here. He ran up on the kid and said, "Hey, yo, get up against the wall, Took his book bag and put it on and started walking. I saw that. I was like, yo, that book bag? He was like, yeah. Then he jumped in the ambulance, the thing truck. And because they saw how he was bugging, so they stopped because they see he was dangerous to people. This back in here and put it in drive, and went over there. That's him down there laying on the floor. They should have shot his.
So that's the kid he ran over again?
Yeah,
I just saw him. He went over. He was right there.
they should have shot him. He's laying there right now on the floor. They should have shot that. He does not deserve to live. Walking out here bugging like he's fucking out of his fucking mind. I was waiting for him to fucking say something to me. But I was gonna put him to sleep real fast. He looked at me and he kept going. Because he saw him look in my eye.
Oh.